Well, welcome back to the Sty Shack. Hey, okay, time for a Sty story. Okay, this one. It's called Lester's Bogey Buns. All right, now, when I lived out west, some of my acquaintances were quite unique. Quite the people. And this one fellow, Lester, is an elderly fellow. He was in his mid to late 70s. And he was really getting into preparedness. He wanted to be a die-hard prepper. And he wanted to come up with methods in which a person could get by on certain foodstuffs that were stashed away. One thing he was really big on was, for some reason, bulgur wheat and red winter wheat. Now he had both in airtight containers with oxygen absorbers, undetermined how many years it would last, because of the nutrition in the wheat. Well, here's the issue. You can't just take that wheat out of the container and start chowing it down. It just doesn't work that way. You have to process it somehow, right? So Lester set out. He was on a mission. He's going to come up with something that you could make out of that wheat that would be sustainable. It would have a long shelf life, provide a lot of nutrition, and easy to carry, easy to pack. Well, here's what he did. He coarse ground a bunch of that wheat. He mixed the wheats together and coarse ground that wheat into kind of like a whole wheat coarse flour. And I, for the life of me, do not know his recipe. Oh, thank God, I don't know his recipe. That would hurt to have that stuck in my mind. I'd be like, how do I get rid of that out of my mind? Because that's a recipe that even if I knew, I wouldn't share because I'd be afraid somebody out there would go and try it. Okay. Now, Lester was very well intentioned. And the one thing I have to say is the old boy didn't have very good taste buds. What he did was his recipe turned that coarse ground wheat flour into a paste, like a dough. And then what he would do is he'd flour a board with that same coarse ground flour, and he'd roll that dough out into about ½ inch thick to 3/4, maybe an inch thick sheets. And he'd take a big round cookie cutter and he'd cut these round biscuits out of it. Now, I don't know what he was using for leavening, yeast or whatever he was trying to use. It didn't work. These things never rose. They never got fluffy, never rose, ever. And he made batch after batch after batch of these things. You'd think, well, if it's ever going to raise, sooner or later in one of those batches it would. He'd let them sit for hours in a nice warm spot. They wouldn't raise. No, they don't raise. They're just the way you cut them. Well, then he'd stick them in the oven. I don't remember what temp or anything. But he'd stick them in the oven on parchment paper, and he'd bake them things. Those buns. And After they baked for quite a while, he'd take them out, and they were just like a hardtack. If you've never had hardtack before, I'm not going to get into a long explanation, but it's just hard flour-based cracker type thing. It's just hard. Not a lot of flavor, and if there is any, it's not that good. Well, he was so proud of his buns that he invited a bunch of those guys over for coffee, and he put a big plate of those buns out, and he says, try those. And each of us took one. They didn't look too bad, but oh boy, you bite into it, and it was so dense. And I mean, it would suck all the moisture right out of your mouth. You chew and chew and chew and chew and chew on it, and it's like all you did was break it down. You never truly chewed anything up. You just broke that bun bite down, and you'd force yourself with a big swig of coffee to get that bite of bun down your throat. Well, he was so proud of his buns. We were going to go out on this very long trek. A group of us. There was like 5 of us, and that morning that we were heading out on our trek, he goes, hey, everybody, take 4 of these bogey buns. Well, they weren't called bogey buns yet. Take 4 of these buns with you, and I guarantee you, if you eat one mid-morning, then eat one around lunchtime, another one in the afternoon, one on the way home, you'll find you don't need anything else to eat. They're very filling, and they're good for you, blah, 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 blah. I do know they had honey in them, but you couldn't taste it. You couldn't taste the honey. They didn't taste sweet. So a few of us were saying, no, that's all right, Lester. We don't. Lester, your good intention, but no, I've got my own trail food. I don't need your buns. Oh no, don't insult me. Take my buns. Well, we took his buns with. Well, he wasn't on the trek with us. And about halfway through the day, a buddy of mine he was way down trail from me. And I was with another fella up this hill. And I said, watch this. And I reached in my pack and I pulled out one of them bogey buns. And they were wrapped in wax paper. And I took it out of the wax paper. And I took a good beat on my buddy down the hill, and I wound up with that bogey bun. I threw that bun as hard as I could. And it made a beautiful arc, and it was heading right for him. I figured it's going to hit him right in the bean. The guy I was standing with yells out, "Bogey coming in! Everybody hit the ground!" And just about then, that bogey bun bounced off the noggin of my buddy. He went right down on his knee, and he's holding his head, and I thought, oh no. I didn't think the bun was that hard. Well, find out, it hurt. He said that really hurt. And he was wearing a fedora, and it right through the hat it hurt. Well, hence Lester's bogey buns. Well, we all found out. We tried to eat them throughout the day. And I ate 2, and I should never have done it. We found out, oh yeah, they're real filling. They're real good for you, and they're real filling. The reason they feel so filling is them buggers don't want to come out. You get them in you. They don't want to come back out. Sure, they're full of fiber. A lot of dry fiber that's soaking up all of the moisture in your body, and it's setting up like concrete. Those bogey buns, I tell you what, if you wanted to get rid of a whole bunch of starving people, feed them those. That'd be terrible. It'd be genocide. So old Lester, he came up with an awesome survival food, a prepper's dream come true. Lester's Bogey Buns. Now, I took one of those. The buddy I had hit in the noggin with one, him and I, we took one of those, and we set it in the crotch of a tree. And I had an old 22 rifle. That was, I mean, it was just a beater. And I grabbed it out of the truck, and I'm about 125 yards from that Bogey Bun that was, they're about 3.5, 4 inches around, about the size of a hockey puck. I'm not kidding. And about as hard as a hockey puck. Sitting in the crotch of the tree, and I took bead on that, and I started shooting at it. I kept missing it. I said, what the heck, we got other things to do, and totally forgot about that Bogey Bun sitting in the crotch of that tree. Now, I'm not kidding you. Not one bit. 2.5 months later, me and my buddy come across that Bogey Bun in the crotch of that tree on that trail. It had sat there through all the weather, night and day, 24/7, for the longest time. Rain, storms, heat, all conditions you could imagine. That Bogey Bun looked exactly like it did when I put it in that tree. No. If somebody says, I found out about this great recipe and they call them Lester's Bogey Buns, you just say, you help yourself, because I'm not touching it. Not unless you're going to use it for a weapon. I mean, throw it at somebody. Don't eat it. So, there you go. There's the Lester Bogey Bun story for you. Hey, thanks for coming along on this story, and as always, you can punch me in the ugly mug. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Over on this side, we got some videos for you to check out. Ring the bell if you want to be notified whenever I put something new up. And I'll be putting something new up rather soon. So you all have a very, very nice day. Bye-bye.